Hello.
Hey.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Chen.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
We're good.
Everything good. It's a beautiful day in Vienna. No people on the street.
Yes, it is so. Sarah, you finally get to spend some time in this beautiful city.
Yes, it's actually, I guess in our 5 years of knowing each other, this has been the first time really that we've had an extended few weeks at home. And although the situation is not the best, but it's been really wonderful just to be home. And we just moved into a new apartment, so we've been unpacking and doing the things we, normally don't have the time to do.
That's wonderful. That's great. And Sarah, let me ask you, are one of few artists equally virtuosic, both the pipe and the viola. Did you start with violin?
Yeah, so I started on the violin. The viola actually came much later. It's when I met this guy. We met 5 years ago, like I said. So I was 30 at the time, and I never played the viola. And when I met him, he asked me, he's like, "So how's your viola playing?" And I was like, "What do you mean my viola playing?" And he's like, "Well, every great violinist, any good violin, you have to play the viola. This is impossible. You can't do this." So I think, how many months later was it that I was sort of a bit lazy and I wasn't really learning. And then one day he came home, and what was the first concert?
I don't remember anymore, but I remember saying, yeah, in 3 weeks you have your first concert on the viola.
Just like that.
Yeah. So I was frantically learning, and then I did my first concert, and it all went well. And then I think like a couple months later, he's like, "Okay, and now I've booked us to do a double concerto," and so then that was the next step. But luckily, I really love the viola, and actually now I'm even playing much more viola than violin. So I'm really happy that I have this new instrument.
So do you feel that your background is different than Julians? Because Julian, you were born in India and you had sort of get music education. By the way, most everybody plays also the viola.
Yes, in the old times, so as we say, in the good old days, every violinist, as a student, when you played the violin, you also played the viola, and you went with the double case or with 2 cases to your lesson, and not knowing if the teacher is going to ask you to play viola or violin. And over the years, this tradition kind of got lost, and because the violinists specified just on the violin, also, and for the same for the viola, maybe because of the world moving into a very perfect, the craving for perfection, let's say, for technical perfection, and people got scared also, because it is very different. It seems kind of course, it's in the family, violin, viola, but on the other hand, if you go into the depth and if you really want to sound good on the viola, it's an entirely different world than playing the violin. But on the other hand, I just find, especially for us soloists, it's so important. Chamber music is the most important thing. It's the core of music. It's the most intimate form of making music, and I think as violinists, it is so enriching to sit down in a string quartet or whatever it is, piano quartet, quintet, sextet, septet, octet, etc., on the viola, and start to listen to all the other voices around you and not always be the center of attention.
Yeah, accessing the inner voices. Of course, the second violin also does this, but it's a totally different experience from the chair of the viola. And I think both of us, we really crave it. We really love playing viola in chamber music. It's the voice that sort of leads the whole group. because they're really the connection between the top and bottom. So.
And also, it happens to be that both of our favorite instruments is neither the violin nor the viola, but it's the cello. And the only realistic approach for a violinist who loves the cello is to play viola.
I see. Well, maybe if there will be a third in the family, then it will be on the cello.
We don't want our children to have anything to do with music.
We don't want to practice with them.
It's too crazy of a job.
I know what you mean because I also have kids, I state, but I cannot accept that your kids will not ask.
Well, it is up to them.
Yeah. If they ask, we'll talk about it.
Now, Julian, you have a very unusual, extraordinary career. You were a child from a very young age. You are on stage with the best orchestras, best conductors. And in recent years, you are also a very sought-after conductor yourself. So when did you discover the passion for conducting? How did it come about?
I mean, I never really planned it, but it's funny you mentioned that. My parents recently showed me photos, because now is the time, you make order, you find
dig through old boxes.
Exactly, you find things that you've never thought that you had. Yeah. And so they showed me some photos with me as a 5-year-old with the tails, with the frack of my daddy, which was of course 10 numbers too big, but I was still wearing it. It was on the floor, half of the tails were on the floor. And I was with a stick and I was conducting to a recording, like as if, this is what I want to do. But I never ever thought that I will be a conductor. And it sort of very, very slowly started.
It's your finger, yeah?
Yeah, I had a surgery on my middle finger on the left hand back in 2007.
Yes.
And it was a kind of a complicated surgery where the doctor said, we don't know if you will ever be able to play violin again. It was a cyst. And so I thought, okay, I'm not a depressive person by nature. So I've had a wonderful time playing the violin. And if after the surgery I can't play the violin, I'll do something else. And also at the same time, there was started to be very much in fashion for chamber orchestras to invite the soloist to play without a conductor.
Okay.
So orchestras like Academy of St. Martin in the Fields or English Chamber Orchestra, a lot of orchestras worldwide started doing that more and more. And so I would come and stand in front of the orchestra, but without a conductor. And then the leader of the orchestra would ask me, Julian, do you have any ideas that you want to share with us? And I looked at him and said, you want my ideas? Nobody ever asked me for my ideas. Because naturally it's the conductor leading the rehearsals and in a way the interpretation, even in a violin concerto. And so these are sort of, and I said, yes, I have a lot of ideas. I don't know if you like them. And so slowly I started flirting with the idea, and when I saw that the reaction was positive from the orchestras and they wanted more projects without conductor, and then I started having the wish to take it to the next level, and I started taking conducting lessons with my mother Sophie, who is an amazing conducting teacher. But also then I started going to Maestro Jansons, to Daniele Gatti, to Leonard Slatkin, Donald Runicles, lots of wonderful conductors who have become dear friends, Zubin Mehta, over the decades. And I started asking them for advice, and I've been extremely, extremely lucky, and I'm so grateful to every single one of them.
Yes, and will you ever conduct a podcast, perhaps?
That's a very tricky question, which many people ask me. And until recently, I've always said, I will never ever conduct opera because I respect opera too much, and the responsibility that a conductor has in this huge mechanism, being in a way in charge of the whole thing, not to fall apart. I just have such respect for that and humility. But now I'm also starting to flirt very slowly with the idea of operas that I have grown up with, such as Pig Dame, such as Carmen, some of the Mozart operas, so who knows?
And you've done some arias already.
I've done quite a few evenings where I would accompany, and I hope one day we will have the chance with you, Ken, to work. But doing beautiful programs with Puccini, actually a lot of Puccini, and which is really hard. Like so hard to accompany Puccini.
Absolutely, one of the hardest.
And so anyways, as one of the James Bond movie titles says, never say never. Sag niemals nie.
That's a very good motto. Do you feel also that your conducting another dimension to your playing as a violinist?
Completely, it changed everything 180 degrees, because now the same concertos that I used to play over and over again, now from the perspective of a conductor, having the whole score in front of me, analyzing the scores, changes everything. And in a way, I view a violin or viola concerto not as a concerto for violin and orchestra, but as a symphony with a soloing instrument. Because I care much more about the second horn and about the trumpet and the trombone, and so I think I'm much more aware of what the composer wanted, and the composer writes a piece, a symphonic piece, and as a young violinist, you are so busy, you are like in a labyrinth, in a forest. It's so difficult to even master the violin part. You don't realize the whole
picture.
The unity of the piece, and so it's been an amazing journey, and it refreshed, I think, me as a violinist, as a violist, as a musician. It's so refreshing to come back to a Beethoven concerto and to discover it as a new piece.
Yes. So now, a lot of couples find themselves in a new reality where they have to spend a lot of time, which otherwise they don't. The two of you are experts, because I think you are used to spending so much time. You are on the road together, on stage, off stage. How do you do it? How is it to live as a musical couple? And what tips can you give us about living in harmony 24/7?
Well, it's definitely not 24/7 harmony, but I think we see ourselves as very lucky, because we get to travel together so much, because we get to play together so much. For so many musicians, as you know, a career takes two people 200-300 days a year in different directions. And we've really made an effort to not do that, try to travel together as much as we can. Whenever I'm not playing a performance and he's performing, I come to his concerts, vice versa. If I'm performing and he happens to not have concerts, he comes. And we're so lucky that we play so much chamber music together. We play many double concertos together. And I think it's also kind of all we've ever known in our relationship. We've, since the beginning, always spent this chunk of time on the road. And I think on the road, it brings certain stresses, right, that you need to learn very quickly to deal with. Flights being canceled, taxis that are late, delays. So I think, it's kind of trained us to just enjoy our time together, and I don't know.
We don't want. We want for the pandemic to end as the whole world wants it to end. And it's really terrible to see the numbers, growing exponentially. But on the other hand, we are loving the quietness and going when we walk our little dog at night, or even going to. This is Rupert. Welcome, Rupert. He's a Havanese.
Hello, Rupert.
He's a very, very important part of our family, and he travels with us a lot.
As much as we can, and we bring him, which also adds to the life quality.
But what I mean is, I think it's good. One has to always find the good part, even during a very difficult time, and we are all in the same boat. Everything is cancelled for all the musicians, for the shops, they're losing the whole economy is not collapsing, but in a very, very serious crisis, and it's not going to recover overnight. We all know that, but one still has to also find the positive aspects, and one of the very positive aspects is that the time that all of us have to think, to discover new things about ourselves, about our work, about our dreams for the future. This time we will never have again. We will hopefully not have it again, because we don't want a terrible epidemic to ever happen naturally like this. But it's still a very special time, and we will remember this time.
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying to take it each day at a time, of course. I mean, I'd say at the beginning we weren't the most productive.
We were very lazy and depressed.
I think we were just like a little, because we're so used to just constant. I mean, we come home for a maximum of 3-4 days at a time, so it was just a bit strange at the beginning. But then we sort of fell into, we're cooking every day together, and we're learning new repertoire, practicing. I don't know, just we've fallen into a nice schedule.
So what are you guys working on at the moment? What's in the future when we are all working? What are your plans?
I feel like we're doing a lot of the things we never have time for. Like, we've both been playing a lot of Bach, and it's not. I mean, it's something that I think you always say, you're like, I need to get another Bach in my fingers, but it's always so busy on the road, and
I feel like as a violinist, if you don't play all Bach is our Bible or our Torah or our Testament or whatever you call it. It's where it's the fundament, and of course I've played a lot of Bach, but not enough, and so both of us are now discovering also the cello suites on the viola. Of course, the partitas and sonatas, going into depth, also the pieces that we have already played again. And this is like a great cleansing also for technique.
Yeah, and sharing. I mean, last night, we were up till 3 a.m. playing through, because of course, I want to study sort of his fingerings and what he's done, and I'm asking questions, and we were working on the chaconne together, and it's really fun.
And I got inspired by watching a masterclass of my dear colleague Leonidas Kavakos, who was both of us were watching his masterclass.
He was doing the C major fugue, right?
Yes, with a very good student. He was working on the C major fugue, and then I was inspired, so I went and started working on the A minor fugue.
And we've also, maybe you want to tell, but unfortunately, Krzysztof Penderecki passed away was it already 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so we've also been working. He wrote a really beautiful chaconne for Julian, and it's solo work for violin and viola. So we've been spending a lot of time working on it.
And Julian, and I think you are planning Israel this summer, hopefully. And Julian had a long relationship with Israel Philharmonic. As a conductor, as a soloist, and also helps the orchestra fundraise. What is your relation with Israel and the Israel?
It's a very special, as you say, Chen. My very, very first recording was in 1990 with the Israel Philharmonic, and I've been sort of incredibly lucky that the orchestra kind of embraced me, and ever since, so we're celebrating 30 years of musical relationship, and not just musical relationship, but friendship with the orchestra. Although the orchestra has changed over the years, it's now there is only few musicians left from the late 80s or early 90s, but still it's always very, very meaningful for me. Of course, my connection with Zubin Mehta until today is very, very strong, and I am grateful to him for so many things, for putting me on the map as a little boy, together with Loren Mazel. Both of them, they sort of created me. I mean, my parents created me, but
yes,
in musical terms, they gave me the chances, and we all need to be given our chances. And now I think it's really fantastic that Lahav Shani has taken over the orchestra. We are wonderful friends, Sarah and me, already for a couple of years with Lahav, and I think he's going to do and he's already doing an incredible job.
It's an exciting next chapter
and
for them.
People were saying, but who can replace this incredible era of Zubin Mehta and Israel Philharmonic? And if there is anybody, in our opinion, it's Lahav. So, going to Israel is also going to a place where I feel, maybe because of my Jewish roots, although my family were not religious, music is our religion.
Yeah.
But still, going to Israel is always something very special. I always feel at home there, and I was so happy when we started dating with Sarah. It was one of our first trips. Was also going together to Israel, and I was so happy that Sarah fell in love with the country as well.
Amazing, amazing trip.
Guys, I thank you also for forming for myself the Friends of the Philharmonic in Austria. Two of you and your lovely mother. For our first concert was really, really important. You made it very special. And I am looking forward to welcoming you in my country this summer. Stay safe, and thank you for joining us today on Czech.
Thank you so much, Ken. All the best to you and to everybody watching. Stay healthy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.